Hello and welcome. And I extend a very warm welcome to all our delegates, all our speakers, and all our industry IT and security experts to ESCON 2022, a defining virtual event around matters related to cybersecurity as well as cyber resilience in a set of fairly reimagined realities. My name is Arjun Vishwanathan, and I will take this opportunity to launch this event, as well as take you and walk you through a very detailed industry research that we conducted across multiple organizations across sectors to understand the sentiments of IT and security and data protection experts and practitioners around the whole concepts of how cybersecurity is slowly evolving into concepts of cyber resilience, such as would converge with overall business strategy. So without further ado, let me share my screen and walk you through a very detailed research that we conducted in the month of April across multiple organizations, as I mentioned. This report is very adequately titled Vision 2022, India Business Resilience Sentiment Study from Security to Resilience in 2022 and Beyond. It's interesting to note that we went to 162 diverse organizations across sectors and asked them a very fundamental question about how cybersecurity conversations and dialogues are evolving within their organizations. And I think it was gratifying to see that 43% of respondents, a near half of all the respondents across organizations, clearly called out the fact that security and risk management is increasingly becoming a boardroom conversation with very, very specified metrics of success and failure that CISOs and data protection officers are responsible, answerable, and of course, accountable to board members as far as the strategic convergence of security and resilience within the organization is concerned. Now, this obviously becomes all the more important given that over the last 2 years, the threat landscape has evolved with both state as well as non-state actors in ways that we have perhaps never imagined earlier. So this is, of course, a snippet of the more detailed presentation as well as the cyber resilience report that StrategINK and StrategINK Insights, its subsidiary, have launched, which will be available on CXO Digital Pulse very soon. I'm today just walking you through a broad outline of what industry sentiment is. Moving forward, we asked CISOs and data protection officers as well as digital transformation officers on what their fundamental cybersecurity priorities will be in 2022. And we asked them to rate a few of them in the order of their priority. And I'm finding it as no surprise that priority number 1 is clearly their ability to be compliant, 100% with legislation as well as regulation. Especially so manifest in the BFSI segment, which is highly regulated. A very close priority number 2 in that order was a CISO's or a security practitioner's ability to respond and remediate, which they are of the opinion will see significant investments in the time to come. Priority number 3, which I think all of you will unanimously and in one voice agree to, was the whole concept of skilling. Perhaps manifest from the overall concepts of a lack of adequate digital and security skills, especially so in the face of the sophisticated threat landscape that presents itself. And of course, last but not the certain least, is the whole point of data and data as a digital asset leading to organizations' ability to innovate. And therefore, their need to ensure that data is protected or the crown jewels are protected in adequate and commensurate measure. So this classically, ladies and gentlemen, comes as no real surprise, but is essentially an affirmation or rather a reaffirmation of what each of you perhaps has been mulling over the last 12 to 14 months. The whole concept of hybrid work or the evolving nature of the concept of work and a distributed workforce is also leading to cybersecurity tools, processes, and automation that organizations are putting into place to ensure that in this kind of a remote work, hybrid work, work from anywhere kind of a scenario, organizations feel that endpoint protection will be that single most important aspect to ensure in terms of cybersecurity to move towards the concept of cyber resilience, very closely followed by security analytical tools, which essentially help you figure out and churn through the tons and volumes of data to be able to figure out where the actual truth is. And of course, going closely with endpoint protection is the whole concept of identity and access management. Given that the workforce is today geographically distributed, and therefore the ability to, or the need for protection against unimagined or unmitigated risks. And equally so, I think in continuation of the story of how organizations are evolving from security postures to resilience postures, we asked organizations whether there were any significant challenges to their ability to formulate and architect robust, comprehensive cybersecurity processes which are in line with the organizational objectives. And one of the questions that we interestingly asked them was, does it ever happen that the cybersecurity team is perhaps not consulted or consulted too late when urgent strategic business decisions are made? And I think this particularly is slightly worrying from the point of view that 47%, almost nearly 1 in 2 respondents, mentioned that not being consulted is perhaps a trend that tends to happen now and then, which I think from a leadership point of view is something that organizations should take cognizance of, given the importance and the criticality of cybersecurity and cyber resilience as an existential strategic matter for organizations to ensure that security teams are consulted at every step of the way. I'm not going to go through each of the data points, but I think it should suffice to say that a cyber resiliency embedding of the cybersecurity teams and cybersecurity experts within every aspect of the decision making within strategic business operations. Again, in continuation, there's also much work that has happened, much evolution and much acceleration and adoption within cybersecurity that has happened over the last couple of years, if not lesser. And I think it's work that needs to certainly be done is around those areas which is present in front of you, which is supply chain attacks. And formal incident response mechanisms have to be put in at greater measure or commensurate to the evolution or the sophistication of threats and malware and spyware and so on, as we are witnessing across the globe. So there's obviously much work that remains to be done. And we are also confident to the event and the segments and analysis and the fireside chats and the vast experience that each of the speakers will present to you will give you much information and insights into planning your cyber resilience strategies in a much more, well, converged fashion, to put it that way. And of course, last but certainly not the least, is the fact that with an increasing level of awareness of cybersecurity, the threat landscape, investments into cyber resilience have certainly increased substantially over the last couple of years, as I'm presuming is manifest in each of your organizations also. And it is, of course, a reaffirmation to see that the bulk of the budgets, in this particular case, 23% of the respondents, or 23% of budgets are allocated to the first line of defense, which is protect. And of course, and then governance, the identification of threats, the detection of threats, response, recover, and supply chain. But I think what is a reaffirmation for sure, or reiteration, is of that ability to protect, I think, is existential to all organizations who have cybersecurity as well as cyber resilience convergence towards strategic business interests. So that really, ladies and gentlemen, was our attempt at bringing in a snippet of the cyber resilience in 2022 research to you in a broad fashion of sorts. The detailed report, as well as infographics and info briefs, as well as this particular presentation in its larger format will be available on CXO Digital Pulse, which is a strategic property. Please feel free to visit it in the coming days. And security research report, but also tons of other immaculate and erudite content that will help you accelerate your technology journey in measures and in ways that you may have never imagined before. That was I, Arjun Vishwanathan. I thank you very, very much. And we wish you all a great, great day ahead. Please feel free to participate in ESCON 2022, ask tons of questions, and generally enjoy and revel in the content that we've put together for you. Stay safe and good day.